And welcome to Habs Unfiltered, episode 175, the entry draft episode with some reaction to the gong show that was the expansion draft. I am your host, Blaine Pudvang. I'm joined now by my co-hosts, Matt Smith.
Evening.
And Treg, the court-martial NCO Wilson.
Hello, everyone.
We appreciate you giving us some of your time away from the courtroom, Treg. It's very nice of you.
I do get to say all rise, so I'm kind of important.
You are the Mac of the night court.
Right next to Judge Judy. Yeah.
I'm trying to do my best bird.
Did you cut out a little sheriff star that did you wear on your uniform and everything, or what?
No, well, I put my naval boarding party crest badge little.
It's the same thing.
So yeah, it's the same thing.
Same thing. Navy sheriff.
So.
All right, so we may as well dive into this. We're gonna have a guest in Jared Brown for the second half. He is going to walk us through all kinds of really great stuff for the entry draft. That's going to be tomorrow as we record. It's Thursday night, the 22nd. So tomorrow night, first round of the NHL entry draft. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of trades, all kinds of fun and exciting things, which none of that happened with the expansion draft. It was so bad.
Not at all. And I'll give a shout out to Frank Saravelli for saving some people from watching that last night. I was unfortunately one of the ones that was like, hey, this is going to be cool. There's a new team in the league. Who are they going to pick? I already knew who they were going to pick, but how are they going to announce some of these names? And I was very much disappointed.
I was shocked that there was no side deals. I was shocked that Ron Francis was like, I can pick all these great players, but I'm going to pick guys that have barely played.
Because no one paid me to pick.
He picked quite a few, yeah.
And nobody was like, oh, we'll give you this draft pick or this player if you take this player. He's like, no, I'm going to take him anyway. No, you keep your guys. I'm going to take these guys.
Yeah, and so far there's only been one other deal. They flipped Pitlick to Calgary for a fourth.
Yeah. So if you would have had some random internet Twitter troll say, haha, I'm going to put a team together, he would probably pick that team.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a terrible team.
It's a heavy defense. It's a heavy defensive based team. We knew they were going to take Giordano, and I think he's going to likely be their captain, right?
Yeah.
Adam Larson was a good pickup, and even for the price that they paid for him, not a bad price at $4 million. The one that surprised me, especially the term and the price, was Olesiak. I don't think he's a $4.6 million defenseman right now, but he's a good defenseman. And then you look down the list, and it's
Drieger
mostly,
was a good pickup.
Yeah,
good pickup.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you look at the rest of the team, you're like, what the shit were they thinking?
Jordan Eberle wasn't a bad pickup.
Yeah, there's a few players that they name though, and you're just like, I watch a lot of hockey, and I know you guys too, and I'm like, I've either not heard of this guy or I don't know why you would pick him over player X.
I never heard of Alexander True. I have to admit, never heard of the guy.
From San Jose?
Yeah. Never heard of him. Or the guy they got out of Columbus.
Center.
The guy they got out of Columbus. Never heard of him.
So how far did Max Domi fall for them to pass him over?
Yeah.
I mean, these are all questions. And also a shout out to Frank Saravelli. Thank you for finding out who my real father was and releasing that on Twitter. Holy crap.
He's tomorrow morning going to release everyone who's going to be drafted in the entry draft.
Yeah, probably.
In order.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, someone's going to replace Pierre McGuire, right? So.
Yeah, but who was the guy last year that right before every pick, pretty much picked who the team was going to pick? I forget his name now, but he did that last year. I forget his name. That's how important he is. But he was right on every pick.
So he was the guy running the TV feed, and he delayed it by 7 seconds so he can get the tweets out.
Probably. It was a check mark guy, so it was. I mean.
So he's connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. But unlike me, who's not a trademark guy. So.
All right, so I mean, we watched that freaking Gong Show on TV. What the hell was that?
Like it just seemed like it was just so poorly planned. Like okay. Chris Fowler made me laugh. He made me laugh once when he roasted the Leafs hard, and that was good. Like that was gold. That was comedy gold.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the rest
for those
of,
who didn't watch it, repeat the joke.
he just went on a blast about like how terrible they were, and I can't quote it myself. I don't know it off the top of my head. You had to be there. But yeah, definitely. If you guys are looking for a laugh, look that up. People are talking about it on social media.
Just that part. Don't watch
Just
the rest
that part.
of it.
Don't watch the rest of it.
Terrible.
Frank Saravelli told us everything you need to know.
Was it at minute 31 of the show, as in 3-1, as in it was 3-1?
But like Fowler, he's a football guy, right? He's a football guy. He said forwards were defensemen or vice versa. He called the Hurricanes the Panthers. Like
as a football guy,
right? But it was just so not well put together. And there was a video that was going out on social media of them throwing the fish for the Leafs pick, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're taking Kerfoot." There was another video that had leaked for McCann just from a different angle. So we knew it was going to be one of them. And then Saravelli told us who it was. But it just seemed that everyone that came up on the stage and everyone that they talked to, it was like, here's a piece of paper. Here's who they're picking. And it just seemed like those people had no goddamn idea who was going to be on that piece of paper. Like we saw Sean Kemp, and Sean Kemp did the best. He did his best. I think it's maybe Sean Kemp's a big boy. Like he's a big man. And if you guys don't know who Sean Kemp is, go look at Sean Kemp. I think they gave him like a Treg size, like Kraken t-shirt to put on. Like he squeezed into that fucking thing. Like he's like pressure of a diamond, like to squeeze into that damn thing. And they picked Donskoy, and he did his damnedest to announce Donskoy's name. Definitely go look it up and have a laugh. But
Marshall Lynch was better.
That was my favorite.
Marshall Lynch was good too.
Because he didn't even try to announce the name right. He was just like, I have no idea.
No,
my
Marshall
man
Lynch
Callie.
didn't either. Yeah, my man Callie. That's all he said. But like, there were some parts that obviously made us laugh. But as a whole, the venue looked like it was beautiful, and there was but it didn't have any energy. And some people say, well, that's because Saravelli talked to. It didn't have anything to do with that, because they still played it off like nobody knew.
What was the ESPN production value was low. I mean,
very much so.
Was terrible.
Very much so. And this is something that we have to look forward to for the oncoming years, as ESPN is going to be one of the leaders, if not the leader, in NHL broadcasting.
And my biggest question about ESPN is why Chris Fowler, of all the hockey people that are out there that you could have hired from NBC, you go with a football guy.
I'll give a shout out to Dominic Moore, though. He did his damnedest to try.
He saved the show.
He tried to steer things clear.
Yeah. But why? I mean, and again, nothing against Chris Fowler. He's a football guy. Yeah. And you're but for a debut for ESPN, that was terrible.
It was bad.
It was terrible.
They couldn't have given him like a 2-day crash course on here's some of the names, how to say them, what positions they are, maybe a cheat sheet so that he can refer to, just so that he wouldn't look so bad.
They just should have hired a hockey guy.
There's that
End
too.
of story.
I mean,
Fowler could have a hockey guy.
Fowler could have been the host. He could have been the one controlling it, and I'm going to throw it to this guy or that guy. But have a hockey guy. Could have been the Ron
McLean.
That's right.
With less knowledge
and more shirts on.
Right.
Anyway. So I think we've covered how terrible the coverage was.
Oh my God. It was horrible.
He was worse than George Strompolopoulos on CBC when he did the NHL
At least he made wearing tight jeans look cool for like 2 minutes.
Well, that's
This-
why
this did
Sean
nothing.
Kemp you wore the tight shirt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Because of Sean Kemp, I'm going back to the Baby Gap to get my shirt. So.
So
Yeah,
should we break down some of these picks? Maybe some of the guys that they should have looked at.
Screw
you know
him.
what? Let's talk about the massive balls on Mark Bergevin.
Yes.
Done.
Which are bigger, his balls or his biceps?
I'm gonna go right now with his balls because he was like, he was just like, hey Ron, pick whoever the fuck you want. I really don't care.
Here's the names. Go for it.
Here's the
dare
names.
you.
Pick them. Here's what's wrong with them. Here's their medical records. Pick them. I don't care. Pick 'em.
Apparently, Ron Francis didn't even come back and say, "Hey, I'll back away from Price if you give me this." He didn't even bother with that.
No,
He just postured and said, "Well, maybe we'll pick him." Blah blah. No, Francis was going for cap space and cap space alone. Clearly, because you just left the goalie who carried his team to the Stanley Cup final, who's from the area, who played junior in the area, and you passed him over.
I mean, I wrote an article about it was a win-win situation for Montreal regardless. Win-win. Like if they lost Price, they have $10.5 million more money in cap space added to the $7.8 million of cap relief that they're going to have going into next season. If they didn't lose, well, they still got Price and they still got Allen with Price out maybe 3 to 6 months,
6 to 8 weeks. Yeah.
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Then
Possibly
you have
6 to 8 weeks.
you have Allen. You still got Allen to carry the team, right? And but I thought for sure there was going to be a side deal with Montreal to.
I was waiting for those the whole time.
There were
Bergevin
none.
was just like, you know what? Here's my guys. Pick who you want.
Yeah.
Pick and live with it.
And then in Friedman's 31 thoughts, apparently Seattle was a little bit upset because the Canadians didn't follow the spirit of the expansion draft, to which the only answer I have to that is too fucking bad.
Yeah. You could have picked who you wanted to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a chance.
What's the spirit of the expansion draft? I left guys unprotected. You pick whoever you pick.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me one team that's not going to look at a player like Shea Weber and say, man, this guy is injured for the year at least, or his career. We'll get into that later. Of course, I'm not going to protect him. Take him. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's just Francis. You could have picked Price and you didn't. That's on you, not the Montreal Canadiens. It's on you.
And I don't have a problem with him choosing not to pick Price. It makes sense if you're just looking at it from a cap hit point of view. If you wanted to win right now, then you pick him.
With the team that they picked, if they would have picked Price to have to play in front of that team, I would have been disappointed. I would have been disappointed for Price.
But if they were picking Price, then they were picking Landeskog, and they would have. You know what I mean?
Like they would have picked. They would have probably picked. They would have picked
all the like Max Domi and all these other guys that. But they went in the opposite direction of Vegas. Vegas went for we want to build a team and have a team that can compete now, whereas Francis is like, I'm going to start my team in a rebuilding phase. That's basically what he did.
Well, he put together a team based on analytics where they're basically going to run a system of defense first. And in the Pacific Division, that's weak as shit for next year. That might be a playoff team.
It very well could be.
Well, they didn't get Mete or Gustafsson, so I don't believe your analytics crap. So
valid point. No, that's true. It's a valid point.
But they did pick up some good young players. They picked up some guys that we talked about. They went out and they got Vince Dunn.
That was a good pick,
right? They went out and got him.
Yeah, but how do you overlook Jake Bean out of Carolina
and go with Geeky?
Yeah, which is a horrible pick or terrible name. Poor guy.
Terrible name.
I mean,
and same within Columbus. They went with that. What's it? Well, I don't even know his name.
Not Domi. That's his name.
Not Domi. You had Max Domi there. You could have took Domi.
That was Domi's going to be out for Gavin Byrother or whatever.
Yeah. And Detroit, they went with an AHL guy.
But then they turn around and they go to Vancouver and they take Vancouver's best young player in Cole Lind.
Yeah. And Mason Appleton from Winnipeg. It took a
Great
good
pick
young,
there.
yeah, great pick there. And then Jordan Eberle, I think, was a good pick for them. A little bit veteran.
A solid pick. I mean, I would have
solid
probably
pick
gone
and
with
veteran.
Bellows if you're looking long term.
Yeah.
But if you need scoring now, Eberle's there.
Giordano was he's going to be their captain probably.
More than likely. I'm thinking, I tweeted it out last night. The thing is, I don't think they would have brought Giordano out if he wasn't staying.
That's right.
I don't think they would have shown him off to the team if they were just going to flip him. So I'm thinking it's going to be Giordano, Eberle, and Larson that'll wear letters, and then they'll go from there. Yeah. Well, but, based on the team that they brought together.
I think they have good young goaltending. Decord and Decord and Dreider and Vitek Vanecek. I think they have good young goaltending.
And their blue line looks pretty good.
Yeah,
it's just young. It's just young and inexperienced, really.
Yeah. And then they got Yanni Gourde.
They got Yanni Gourde. They got Hayden and Cal Fleury, both Fleury brothers.
Yeah.
Yanni Gourde.
Yeah. I mean, seeing the Fleury brothers together, I would love to see that as a pairing.
Well, you saw how Hayden was when he came out and he talked and everything, and you could tell he was excited to be playing with his brother.
Your mom was happy because now she only has to root for one team.
That's right.
Yeah.
And speaking of Cal Fleury, I mean, overall, that's probably the best case scenario for the Canadians in an expansion draft this year.
I'm a big Fleury fan. I liked him when he played in junior. I liked seeing him in Laval. I thought that he did well when he was with the Canadians. It's another young prospect, unfortunately, on the defense that they're losing out. But it could have been a hell of a lot worse, as you said. But I wish him all the best. I hope he does. I hope he does well, and hopefully we'll see him as a member of the Kraken actually crack the roster and
the roster.
Maybe hope to see him play in Montreal.
Yeah, I hope he gets in the roster and he gets pucks in deep and does it for the boys and they all come together and
110%.
Do it for your mom. Do it for your brother. Yeah.
But
team first.
Another thing, if they're going analytically, I would have thought Brett Kulak would have been their pick.
And that's why I thought they were going to pick Kulak. In the last episode, I mentioned that Kulak would have been my guess, but they went with Fleury, which, if you're thinking about age and what kind of an impact longer term, that makes perfect sense. But analytic wise, you would think that Kulak could be the guy because he's such an analytic darling.
Yeah. Same.
Either way, Canadians keep one of the two, and their bottom pair has.
Personally, on the bottom pair, I like Kulak or Fleury. Fleury took a step back this year in the AHL, but he did have injury issues.
He did.
But I'm not an anti-Kulak guy. So,
you look at the names that are coming up on the defensive side. They got Norlinder coming up. They just picked Gooley in the first round last year, and we saw a glimpse of how he played for Team Canada. We saw how he looked in Laval. So they've got some young guys coming up. They've got Harris, they got Struble, etc.
The issue is they're all left.
I was about to say that.
It still sucks, but
they're now weak on the right side. They have no depth on the right side.
Brooks the only right-hand prospect they got right now.
That plays on the left.
They only have two right-hand guys on the team. Petrie. They only have one right-hand guy on the team.
They only got two in the system right now.
Yeah, him and Brooke.
So I wouldn't be surprised they pick a couple of right-handed D. They got a couple other ones in the prospect pipeline below Brooke, but Brooke's the only one that's close to being NHL ready, and he is not. So that means there's going to be some work done this off season on bringing somebody in, and that takes me to the second part of this segment, where we're going to talk a little bit about the highlights of Marc Bergevin's press conference. So I'm just going to name off a couple of highlights, and then we'll dive into it. But before we get to that, I'm just going to mention that Kelly Buchberger was hired on as an assistant for the Laval Rocket. I think that is an amazing addition to Laval. I mean, this is a guy who has former head coaching experience in the CHL. He was an NHL assistant. He was a director of player personnel in the NHL as well. So he brings
Edmonton. Wasn't it?
Yeah. And which brings a ton of coaching and player development experience, which is perfect for the role he's going to play. So great hire there. All right. So to the highlights of Marc Bergevin's press conference. The first one, and we'll chat about them one by one. Yep. So I'm going to start with the first point. And Weber is definitely out this season. He's going to be on LTIR come training camp. And Bergevin is also kind of he basically said that there's a good chance that his career is done. So that sucks.
It does, and it doesn't. It sucks because Weber's leadership is not going to be there. It sucks because Weber, no matter what you say, Weber was good on all facets of his game. No matter what some people on Twitter say.
He was clearly in decline, but he was
clearly in decline. Player. But he wasn't in decline because of old age. He was in decline because of the way he plays the game and the way he doesn't stop whether he's injured or not. And Bergevin referenced that in the press conference. He said he didn't even want to not practice. That's how. And
he didn't even bring up how much pain he was playing through.
No. The good part about it is you're free up his contract. And I mean, I know we're losing a great player for the Canadians, a great leader and stuff like that. But hockey is still a business, so I almost guarantee he's going to get traded back to Nashville.
Well, whether he does or he doesn't, even if he sits on LTIR for the next 4 years, that's nearly $8 million in cap. Yeah. And here's a guy that played on the power play. Whether you think he was any good at it or not, they had him there. A guy who played on the penalty kill, where he was actually good. And at 5-on-5, so here's a guy who plays 20 to 25 minutes a night, playing in every situation. Now you have to find a way to replace him. And finding one person to do it would be astronomical. If you can maybe, and here's just a theory, it might be easier to do if you signed 2 guys. Like maybe say a David Savard and an Alec Martinez. You can do that for about 8 to 10.
Alex Martinez can almost do both. Almost.
Yeah.
Probably not as well as Weber, but he can play the PK and the power play.
But between those two, if you added 2 players, each one could probably cover off 20 minutes, 22 minutes. And now you have a much deeper team. And you have 2 guys who are more dedicated to the opposite ends. One's on offense, one's on defense. You have different options for pairings. So that might actually be the better way to go than to go for, say, a Dougie Hamilton.
Well, Dougie Hamilton will cost you 8. And you can probably get Martinez and Savard for maybe 9 together.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Matt, thoughts on this?
It's going to be very hard to replace the leadership aspect of having Shea Weber in the lineup, and it just so happened that he played through the pain for too long, and we saw it happen when he busted his ankle up a few years back. He played up to the point where he pretty much had to shut himself down, and we know that happened within the first week of the season. And he played till after Christmas with that injury. And, hats off to him. He had a tremendous career. It's too bad that he never got his name on a cup.
Yeah.
Obviously made it close, but he's still a guy that I've had just so much respect for throughout his career. And wherever he ends up finding himself after his playing career is over, I wish him all the best. And I think he'd be a great guy to one day join a team in some sort of management capacity. I think he'd do a fantastic job for an organization.
He's the guy a team would hire to fire people. He'd just walk in.
Walk in.
There's no arguments. Yeah. But no, I mean, Shea Weber might turn out to be probably the best Canadians captain to have never won a cup. And I know Koivu is a captain who didn't win, but I think Weber just above him on that one. All right. So from that, we're going to move on to something less controversial. Jonathan Drouin. So during the press conference, Bergevin said he's had a good conversation with Drouin. Things are a lot better, and he's expecting Drouin back next season at training camp. Now, I don't know if that's just him saying that to get the trade value up a little bit, or if that's really what's going to happen. But if it is really what's going to happen, all I can say is good. Whatever it is that caused Drouin to need personal time to leave the team and take care of whatever he needs to take care of, if he's ready to come back, that means he has taken care of his problem, or at least it seems. And if he has, then great. I'm happy. I want him back. Come back to the team. I think he'd be a good addition to a team in need of some offense.
I'm just hoping that if he comes back, when he comes back, that he comes back as the Jonathan Drouin old. This season, you could definitely tell that there was something wrong.
Yeah.
And it showed in his game, 44 games, and you're an offensive player. You only scored 2 goals. Even the year prior, 27 games, you only scored 7. If he can return of the Jonathan Drouin of old and get some chemistry going with either a center that they're going to bring in, maybe they throw him with Suzuki again like they did in the playoffs in the 1920 season. Maybe he gets some time with Kakaniemi, who knows? But he's still an important part of this team. We know that the talent is definitely there. I just hope he brings it to the ice every time he steps on it. If not, that's a $5.5 million cap for just to skate around. That's what we saw for the most part of the season.
Well, honestly, I don't care if he scores 1 goal. If he's getting 50 to 60 points,
oh, absolutely,
who gives a shit how many goals he scores?
Yeah.
I mean, other than the people that want to just shit on him for not scoring enough goals.
But if he can produce and he can, he can just look like he's engaged in the game, and we didn't see that this year.
That'd be a win.
Absolutely.
Treg, what do you think?
Got more engaged when Dom Ducharme took over. He probably played some of his best hockey when Dom Ducharme got over. I think he was well engaged at the first of the season, but he wasn't putting the goals in, and then the pressure kept coming down on him. I mean, he led the team in assists right up until a couple weeks before he stopped playing. So it's not like he wasn't helping produce. His two-way game was probably the best we've seen since he became a Montreal Canadian. And a lot of people kind of forget that fact. Like, a lot of people just look at Drouin's past and don't look at the Drouin right now. And I'm telling you, his two-way game, his back checking and stuff like that, I thought for Drouin was pretty goddamn good. And I've written a lot of articles the last little while about Drouin and what the future. And Blaine, you had your Drouin situation one, and I had what's the future for Drouin, or maybe Drouin should be exposed to the expansion draft. And it wasn't because I wanted him off the teams, because I wanted Drouin in a better spot. And if Drouin feels like Montreal is the place for him to be, and he feels like he's better and he's at the place he needs to be at, then all the power to him. I hope he succeeds. I think a line of Drouin, Suzuki, and Caulfield will be just tremendous scoring line, tremendous.
Yeah, and people want to denigrate the defensive play on that line, but Suzuki, quality two-way player. Like you mentioned, Drouin's defense has vastly improved, and Caulfield is an excellent defensive winger, player, especially for a rookie.
And the way I look at it, if you have a pure scoring line, I'll let you have defensive laps every once in a while, because if you're going to score 3-4 to 1 against when your line's out there, fine.
Seems to work in Toronto in the regular season. In the regular season.
Yeah.
And Dubas is very stands by his core. He stands by it.
Yeah, whether it works or not,
he knows his job's on the line.
I don't think he has a choice, because let's be honest, it's Shanahan's core. But
that's right.
Getting back to a real hockey team, I'm happy. I'm excited for Drouin. You guys know I'm a big Drouin fan. I see, Blaine, you got your Drouin jersey that you got for the.
It sat in the arena the entire playoffs.
And I hope he comes back. I hope he has a great season. I'm not expecting anything more than he hasn't already done. And if he does get more, bonus.
Now, before we move on from Drouin to the next point, I hate to say his name, but I have to. Brendan Kelly.
Who?
Yeah, that guy decided that he was going to spout off and say, well, we need to know what caused this problem for Drouin. It's our right to know. And to that I say, no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is a perfect time to drop an F-bomb to Brendan Kelly.
Feel free.
Fuck you, Brendan Kelly. There you go.
Chef's kiss. Perfect.
Listen, Brendan Kelly's probably going to write an article how they won the Subban trade. We lost the Subban trade because
you know it's coming.
He's probably already had it written for 6 months now.
Probably.
He's also the same guy who's like, oh, just because they made it to the finals, they didn't win. And Brendan Kelly will do, as long as Bergevin's GM, Brendan Kelly will do whatever he can to.
Brendan Kelly is the Leafs, the editor in Leafs of Canadians.
I think he's editor in Leaf.
He probably is. He probably is. Yeah.
No, he's editor in Leaf is a blatant homer and admits to it, whereas this is pure hate.
Well, the thing is, I don't understand. Like, I don't want to talk about Brendan Kelly very often.
It is none of his goddamn business. But I
don't understand how like you can cover the team and be like, say how all these things that like you're a fan, you're this, you're that, and then just shit on them like left, right, and center.
But he's an entertainment reporter. He's an entertainment reporter for Gazette who just puts out a opinion piece about the Canadians. Stu Cowan and Pat Hickey for the Montreal Gazette.
But we still hear about this guy, and he comes on shows, and he comes on podcasts.
Because he just shits on the team constantly.
Right? And
he comes on shows just so people can prove to everyone else what a shitty friggin' person he is. Like he's just.
But when you're on the long-term injury reserve for a personal reason, it's a personal reason. If he wants to share it, he will share it. If he doesn't want to share it, it's none of our goddamn business.
That's right. He was gone. Now he's back.
We do not have the right to know about.
No. I had some anonymous schmuck online tell me that, hey, I bought his jersey, so he owes me. No, you don't. No, you bought a jersey, you get a jersey. You don't get access to these guys' personal lives. It's not entertainment journalism it's sports. It's not like he broke a finger.
That's right.
And that's reported.
I really don't care what was going on with Drouin. I don't care why he had the time off.
No, it's his business.
I'm not going to speculate why he had the time off. I just want him to come back healthy and happy and play great hockey.
That's right.
End of story. Don't care.
So
I really don't care.
Whether he comes back to the Canadians or not, as long as he's playing in the NHL next year, that's a win to me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So moving on from that, the third point, Bergevin was asked if he wanted Corey Perry back, and he was pretty concise when he just said yes.
Good choice. Really? Good choice.
Yeah. What more do you say?
Did Arpin ask that question?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. You're losing out on the leadership of Weber. I think it showed on the ice how important Perry was, especially to some of these young players. I think that a full year of Corey Perry in the locker room and to be around some of these young guys and with some of these veterans that we know that the Canadians are going to lose. Tatar's likely not going to be back. Weber, we know that he's not going to be playing. Price is likely to miss part of the season.
Maybe.
We don't know, but yeah. We don't know if Danault's coming back, even though he's young. He's still a veteran to this team, etc. So to have a guy that's been there, done that in Perry for another full year, and even Perry in his end of the year conference, he said that he wants to live the Canadians lifestyle, and I 100% welcome him back.
He even mentioned he wanted to move his family to Montreal so that they can experience the whole thing too. So
throw $1 million at him and.
Yeah. 1 year, $1 million. I'm sure he'll take that.
Yeah.
And there's already rumors out there. I haven't heard it from Frank Saravelli, so it's not guaranteed, but that the Canadians and Perry have been talking. So, all right. So moving on from that point to the next one, and you kind of alluded to it, Danault. Danault was someone that Bergevin mentioned that he does want back, but he said, well, we're not sure unless they sign, we don't know. But for all intents and purposes, everything that's been reported, it doesn't. I'd put it at about 10% that he comes back.
He's gonna be a guy. They're gonna leave the door open for him.
Yeah.
Right. They're gonna leave the door open, and I think they're gonna let him test the waters, and maybe he's gonna prove. He might prove us wrong, but it might also prove us right that he's overvaluating himself based on his performance during the regular season.
Reportedly wants 5.5 over 6 years.
Yeah.
I don't think
that's Zach Hyman money. What are you talking about?
I don't think Bergevin's going to go any higher than 5. He already offered
shouldn't go any higher.
He already supposedly offered him a contract for what, $5 million per year for 6 years, and he's not going to go higher.
5 by 6, yeah.
5 by 6.
5 by 6. Yeah.
He shouldn't. He's going to be a third line center. Let's be honest here. He's going to be a third line shutdown center. He shouldn't be paying him over 4.5.
Yeah.
I mean, if Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is going to get 5.1. Danault definitely isn't going to get any more than that.
Yeah, it really depends on how to evaluate him right now. If he's going to be a third line, he's going to be a second line guy. It's going to really depend if Kotkaniemi can take the jump, if how they see Evans, what Paling's going to look like, etc. There's a lot of what ifs, but you can't sign him for any more than say 4.5, 5 max.
They're deep enough at center that they don't have to overpay to keep Danault on the team.
No, and
there's options out there, and with the salary cap relief they're going to get from Weber, they can make a deal if need be.
You look at what's available in the UFA market. You got Wenberg, Holla. Holla would be an excellent pickup for a couple of years, who would come at half that price. Hell, Getzlaf. Getzlaf's going to be a UFA. Maybe they get him on a short-term deal with Perry. I mean, you throw Getzlaf on a third, fourth line. Great. Way cheap, and he would come in cheaper than Danault. I mean, we talked about this last episode. Danault brings a lot of value to the team, being a local on top of that, but you don't overpay just because he was born in the province.
Right.
That's poor asset management.
It's kind of what they did with Drouin.
A little bit, yeah. And how are the fans taking to that?
Exactly. Well, look at Danault at the first of the season. No fan wanted him to stay in Montreal.
No, they were trying to trade him off for spare parts.
Yeah, and now it's like, oh, we got to sign him. Look how well he did in the playoffs.
I like him, but
I like him too. And if they get him for $5 million or less, perfect.
4.5.
I even think $5 million is too much. I agree with you, Blaine. But
it is.
They already offered him $5 million, so you know he's not going to ask for anything less from Montreal. Yeah. They already offered it to him.
Yeah.
And to me, that's too much, especially when you have everything that's coming up. I mean, Suzuki is looking like he can take on some of that matchup role. Evans as well. They can share that load. Paling's coming up. The UFA market has some centermen that could fill those roles for much cheaper.
Who knows what Kotkaniemi will do with more minutes?
There you go. And Bergevin talked about Kotkaniemi and what he felt he needed. And a larger role for Kotkaniemi is more than likely coming next year, which means less ice time for Danault anyway, which is probably why he's leaving in the first place. So he mentioned Bergevin mentioned Kotkaniemi and talked about what he feels he needs. And he mentioned more strength. So he wants some more mass on the lower, the lower body so that his core strength is up. He win more board battles that way. And Kotkaniemi kind of talked about that in his exit interview and mentioned how he wants to improve his skating. So a little bit of strength down in the lower extremities and in the core. And now you've got yourself a 21-year-old, 6'2", 6'3", 215-pound center who's going to win a lot of board battles.
You just got to get his consistency down. I think with strength, that'll come.
And Bergevin mentioned exactly that. Yeah. Consistency was his biggest enemy this past year. But
all the wingers, Blaine, all the wingers.
Well, that didn't help his consistency.
It didn't help, but
it wasn't the reason for.
Who are you switching the wingers around with? You're not doing it with Suzuki, and you're not doing it with Danault.
So and why is that?
That's right. But now that Danault likely won't come
because
back,
they had the confidence of Suzuki and Danault to stay where they're at.
You might see Gallagher move up with Kotkaniemi, and that other position, depending on where Drouin slots in, depending where Toffoli slots in, depending if they play Anderson on the left like what they did with Caulfield and Suzuki, the options are there. I
would love to see. I personally think you're going to see Gallagher drop to a third line
with Kotkaniemi.
I think if you don't bring Danault back, Kotkaniemi is your second line center. If they don't,
but I can totally see Gallagher with Kotkaniemi.
I can see that. Totally I can also see Anderson and Toffoli with Kotkaniemi and Drouin and Caulfield with Suzuki.
Sure. But back to the reason for changing the lines the way they did, Suzuki and Danault were consistent. That is why their lines really changed.
That's true.
I mean, Suzuki did have a drop in production for like 3 weeks, but his defensive game and his overall game stayed the same. He just wasn't putting the puck in the net.
It was infuriating to watch. I wanted to see Kotkaniemi get 2-3 games with a guy, but it turned out he'd get maybe a period or two, and that's infuriating. Yeah. But when you see the inconsistency, you can see why they did it, even though sometimes are they causing the inconsistency, or is he like it? So that argument I can get, but that's why. Anyway, the next and the last piece that we'll talk about is Bergevin's plans. He was asked about his plans through the summer, and he mentioned how it's pretty fluid. He's not going to give away too much, obviously, but he mentioned his offseason plans depend heavily on what the doctor says about Carey Price. So right now, the expectation is 6 to 8 weeks, but I mean, we saw it with Weber when he went in for what was supposed to be an easy procedure, and it ended up taking a lot more time to recover. So if they go in and it's just a quick cleanup of a knee or something, and that's 6 to 8 weeks, he'll be fine. But if they have to go in, it's a bigger deal. Well, what if we're looking at 6 months? So that'll change how he approaches the off season, because he's going to need a goalie. But if Price comes back, he can spend his time looking at defensemen. So.
I think even if Price doesn't come back, you have Allen, who played well without him, but I think you need those defensemen in front of Allen just to keep, because all they really need to do is keep pace with the playoffs to
but who they bring in as a backup for Allen? It's not going to be Primo.
Lindgren, re-sign Lindgren.
Whoa. You think we're going to get an all-star like that for cheap?
I had to think what you were saying there for a minute. No.
Yeah. I don't see Lindgren coming back no matter what.
No, I don't know.
I think
you can get someone on the cheap. Bring in Louis Domingue or someone on the cheap in the UFA. Someone, I don't know. It's going to be tough.
Or they just have Primo.
I don't want to waste Primo on the bench.
I don't think they should.
He needs another full season in Laval.
I don't think they should, but don't be surprised.
Unless you take McNevin and throw him as a backup.
I think they would rather give some random UFA goalie a couple of $1 million to come in and play that role than put him on waivers.
Yeah, you can do that.
But like that would take away time, though, in the off season that he would have to focus on. He's got to find a way to replace Weber, because we know for a fact he is not coming back. So he needs to replace Weber. So that's 1, maybe 2 defensemen right there. The Canadians need more scoring. They need some winger depth that can actually score. So
it sounds like they're talking to Huffman, like that. I've heard this from a few different people. So
yeah, I've seen it. But at the same time, on Onjao's, was it? His teammate in St. Louis. Oh, it starts with a P. I'm drawing a blank.
Peter Angelo?
No.
Perron?
Yes. Perron. So Perron on Onjaz mentioned how he didn't come out and say it, but he kind of alluded to the fact that there was a bit of a locker room thing
with Hoffman.
Yeah, so I don't see. I mean, and that's something that's followed him since his Ottawa days with his girlfriend and all the shit that happened between them and the Carlsons. So,
just looking at goalies here, I mean, you got Brian Elliott. You can bring him in for a couple million.
Yeah,
Anders Nielsen, David Riddick, Carter Hutton. You know,
talking to one and convincing them to sign that could take a few hours in the first day, where he can spend that time finding someone to take Danault's spot when Danault decides he doesn't want to take the reasonable yet not as lucrative offer that Montreal is giving him.
Yeah, I mean, you got Curtis McElney, but he might cost you a little bit because he's a pretty good backup. Corey Schneider, bring Corey Schneider in. Keith Kincaid.
Anderson.
Freddie Anderson on a cheap deal.
Yeah.
Craig Anderson could be an option.
There you go. Come out of retirement, buddy.
Did he retire? Like, what team was he on last year?
Went to Washington.
Yeah.
Washington ended up being their starter for a little while in the playoffs.
Yeah. No. It's going to be an interesting offseason, but the less crap that Bergevin has to focus on, the less, the better.
Yeah. He's got to go with team needs before he starts filling up fill the cabinets up. You know what I mean? Like
he's. Oh, sorry, there, Matt. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Like that's what his priority has to be.
I think goaltending is going to be the last of his worries until he's going to cross that bridge when he gets to it. He's going to sign everyone else he needs to sign. He's just going to find some cheap ass goalie to put in.
So before we take a break and move on to the interview with Jared about the draft, I'm going to ask you guys one question that has to do with the draft, and that's: do you think that the Canadians are going to make a trade between now and their pick, trading that pick or making any kind of trade whatsoever?
Yes, I do.
What do you think they're going to do?
I don't think they're keeping the pick.
What are they looking for? Like,
I think they're looking for a scoring forward up front, and I think they're going to use the pick to get one. I think they're going to use the UFA market to get the defenseman, and I think they're going to trade for a forward. Do
you have an idea of a forward they want, or?
Not really. No.
Pretend you're Frank Saravelli. No, I don't. I don't really have a. Okay. You just think they're going to go for some scoring on?
I think they're going to go for some scoring up front. I know there's some guys on the market. I just can't think of any names right now. So.
All right. What about you, Matt? Do you think they're going to make a trade, and if so, for what?
I think they're going to keep their pick, but I think they're going to trade. They might try to trade up if there's somebody that they want.
Okay.
There's some guys that I know that we've discussed a little bit, like Zachary Leroux. We've talked about a couple. We've talked about Zach Bolduc. We've talked about Xavier Bourgault. We've talked about a couple of these different guys, and you never know. They might take that pick 31. Which is really pick 30. And they might take that and then package it with one of their many other picks. They've got 3/4, a 5th, 6th, and a 7th that they might be able to say, package these together to actually get the player that they want. Or we might see them, because it is almost a 2nd round pick. We might see them flip it, but I can see him using the pick.
Now, I'm pretty sure that it's the Canadians' turn this year to give away their 7th to Philadelphia, but tradition states that they have to make a trade for their 7th. So
I think so.
I'm pretty sure we'll see that, but I'm with you, Treg. I think they're going to make a deal, and I don't know if they're going to trade away the 1st, but I think it's in play, and I'm going to name someone, Bushnevich out of the Rangers. I think he would be a good target.
I was thinking Tarasenko too, or something like that.
Tarasenko would be an amazing pickup. depending on what they trade out. They have to trade out some salary as well.
Yeah.
They could eat some of it.
They could, like
especially since
Byron, a third and a lower end
especially
prospect.
we know he wants out.
He does, yes, he does.
Right, so St. Louis might just be like, we'll eat this to make it happen.
And they did lose Vince Dunn, so it could be take one of his left-handed prospects off the hand too.
Yeah. And if you're looking for a new place, a new start for Drouin, that would be an excellent deal to pull off.
I think Drouin stays in Montreal, but we'll see.
Yeah, but it like I said, if you're looking for it, otherwise you go with the standard Byron and scraps.
Yeah, because everybody wants that.
Because everyone wants it. But
Byron Paling and a second-round pick for Tarasenko.
No, Paling
says no? Who says no?
You got to replace Paling with a third-round pick. Come on now.
Oh, okay.
Do this
Who
right.
says no? Everyone says no.
Yeah. All right. So I think we'll end this segment here. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we will be joined by Jared Brown of Draft Pro, and he's going to school us on the draft. So please stick around.